Hello, very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our third segment of the HR Perspective Conversations by MAHRP. As you can see, I have here today a wonderful guest, and we were so much looking forward, especially for this conversation, because obviously there's always these questions around, uh, you know, uh, do we have senior female leaders in the industry that can inspire and lead specific conversations? So today is the answer. This is our third segment. We have had two conversations so far, and we're very pleased that our guest today is Fatos Shazlin, the Resort Manager of Soneva Jani. And before I actually introduce her to our audience, I just want to share a couple of guidelines. As you can see, we are live on our social platform on Facebook. So for participants, you can go ahead and post comments, and we will see it from our studio, and we'll respond. Also, if there's any question that you would like to ask, we'll be happy to take it on. So to start the conversation, before I formally introduce us, I would like you to say a few words to all the viewers and the audience. Yeah, over to you, Shaz.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shaaz. Thank you, Afif, for this great opportunity, and I'm very much looking forward to share my experiences and be part of this knowledge sharing platform. As you
Yeah.
can, in my short introduction, I'm currently working as a resort manager at Soneva Jani, and this is where I am.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Shaz. Yes, we can see the beautiful Sonia journey, and I'm sure you must be doing a lot of things to welcome back guests, in just a couple of days' time, in literally 16 days' time. So today, Shaz is our guest, and I would like to give a brief introduction of her. She's a passionate hotelier. She started the industry many years ago. Goes all the way back to about 14 years, and she has actually worked in quite interesting brands, from Hof and Fushi to Dusit Thani, and her last three resorts has been Vela Private Island as the director of rooms, and also as Parkwam as the rooms division manager. And right now, she's actually one of the most beautiful resort in the mall. It's one of the most luxurious resort, and an experience that can't be compared with many. And she's the resort manager for almost nearly now getting nearly 2 years down the line. And in our conversation today, what we wanted to do is to, for our viewers and everybody else who's watching through various platforms, to understand her story and how that links with the greater story of our community, and also understand the opportunities that are available for females within the industry. And once again, Shaz, welcome. And we have a couple of questions that we have set and prepared. So I would like to actually go with those questions. And along the way, participants will post questions. So if you're watching this live, which I guess you are. So go ahead and write in the comment box, hello, hi to Shad, and let us know who is watching this live. So we will be able to understand your comments, your thoughts too. So Shad, my first question to you is, we're keen to inspire and develop professionals within the hospitality industry. It's one of the main industry in the Maldives, and we believe sharing your story could help many. What made you join the hospitality industry?
Well, it seems like ages ago, when I was doing my A levels, I was reading an article on a Times magazine, I think, and there was this story a viewer has or a contributor has written about a resort experience they've had in the Maldives, and it turned out to be that the guests stayed at Soneva Fushi, and that small piece was about how that experience has changed their ways and how they have inspired and how they have fell in love with the Maldives and the beauty, natural beauty of this country. And that kind of intrigued me, and I started looking around. Around the same time, in a couple of weeks, the hotel school then back then also opened up applications for the BTEC diploma courses, and I think that was fate for me. And I asked from my dad for permission whether I would be able to join on that course. And he was very understandingly said yes and agreed, and I got enrolled. And when the course continued and when I started exploring different options and studying about hospitality, that actually made it me more interesting. And I, from then and there, decided that this will be a long-term career, and that I could take this up as a career, and I wanted to go ahead with it.
Yeah,
And
no,
during
yes.
that time in the hotel school, most of us were some kind of we got a sponsorship from different resort operators, and I actually was sponsored by a Crown company. So straight after the courses was finished, then I joined the resort, Veligando Island, and that was my first job as a telephone operator come receptionist. And once I started work and once I started understand the different opportunities within the resort, and that kind of made me again, go back and explore what are other opportunities in there and what are the things that I would like to do, and try different areas within the resort itself. So that's how it all started.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, it's great, how you started, and I'm also very, happy to learn that even initially, you when you wanted to join the industry, that your parents supported, and they could get, you could get the blessing, and you started, and I suppose we could say the rest is history. Where you are today is a resort manager of one of the most beautiful properties, in fact, in the world, not just in the Maldives. And in your job, you look after colleagues, you look after guests. You're a resort manager, so you probably must be very hands-on. Could you tell to all our viewers what's the best part of your daily job? What do you like most?
I mean, everything about this role, meeting people, whether it's guests or hosts. And I think this is very challenging time for all of us the last 3 months, those who are working in the resorts, more than the guests that we have been dealing with our teams. And I think that has kind of opened up different doors for us, and different learnings. And we all have had caught up in our paths before, but I think this also has given us an opportunity to look at things in a different perspective, not only with the guests but also with the host, and making sure that the places they work are the safest, and really looked after. They feel looked after. So I think dealing with people is the best thing in this role and any other job. I think that will be the best thing. And I think, and also I have a very special arrangement on the resort because I do live with my son. So for me, yes, that coming back to him in the evening or during the meal time, seeing him is also something I do look forward to.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful. And then, in fact, we do have a question which I'll ask later on about how do you balance the time, with the family, and because obviously one of the concern for many, parents that we hear, and in fact those who wants to join the industry, is that how do they integrate, their personal life while working in the resort. I'll come back to that question at a later stage. And to all the viewers, if you are, with us, please, do post comments, questions. We'll ask those questions from Shaz along the way. My second question, Shaz, to you is that you are now a resort manager in, as I mentioned, one of the most amazing property in the world. And what factors contributed to reaching where you are today? I mean, different people, take different journeys, and your journey is quite extraordinary, and you must have spent a lot of time in different aspects of, your growth. So, could you tell us a little bit about your story of what made who you are today?
I think a short answer could be hard work and dedication. What I've said earlier is also that I took up this opportunity to work in this industry, not just for the sake of doing a job. Yes, the pay is good from the very beginning. Everyone who has worked in the resorts always believed it back then, also that you are able to save a good amount if you work for a long time. But for me, this is also about a career, and I've always believed that this is something for long term, and I didn't just want it to be, um, spend my time for a couple of years and then retire and do something else. So for me, this has been a long-term career initiative that I've done. And when I was working in different resorts, let's start with the first place where Veligando. Yes, I did say that I started as a telephone operator receptionist. Within the first couple of weeks, I went to the GM and said I want something else to do as well together with this. And my first GM there is a Maldivian, so that also gave me the opportunity to believe that even the Maldivians can do it and can hold some high positions in this industry. So I think that was one thing that have inspired me. During my time at Veligando, as I said, I've got the opportunity to work in quite a lot of areas, so be it housekeeping, where I was introduced to the roles of the villa attendants, how hard they work and their routines. Also was introduced through their work, was introduced to the maintenance and stores. I also work in a food and beverage. So that kind of gave me a foundation to understand what are the roles available in the resort. And that also gave me an more in-depth knowledge to where I wanted to focus my career on. And then, of course, Soneva was where the first inspiration after reading that story, and I've always was looking for an opportunity to work at Soneva Fushi. And I got the opportunity, and that has been a turning point in my career, where I joined as a guest relations and worked as Miss Fridays, or the very first butler concept introduced in the Maldives. I also spent few years together, as you mentioned, Fif in Huafem Fushi as a front office manager. And then again, I also got the opportunity to work first in abroad in Dubai as an internship for a short few weeks, but later on around 2009, 2010 on a long-term contract at Soneva Kitty in Thailand. Coming back again with Tusitani and also at Vela Private Island, and then again at Parakum Niyama. And that was my first resort manager, resident manager role. And then, of course, now at Soneva Jani. So being able to work with these different resorts and being with these many talented people, I think have somehow contributed to my success. And of course, I have been very selective as well when I was looking for roles. And I'm not afraid to say that I have said no to some positions because I did not feel that there was a growth opportunity for me. And I have moved on from those. I think it's very important that we learn. And I think it's very important the people you work with, and that's the biggest impact you would have. So you need to work with people who would support you and who would want to inspire you. And that in that sense, I've been very selective in some of the roles that I would take on.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, you share some very good points there, and my key takeaway there is really, the determination and the commitment that you had from the very beginning, to where you are today. And I like what you just mentioned about, we have to take responsibility for our own growth and career. And you said, you were very selective in which job you would accept and where you want to be, because if there is no growth opportunities, you don't have to stuck in there, because if you see your potential and where you can reach, there's nothing wrong in making the move, which I think is a very important message, and I suppose a guidance even for everyone. I also want you to know that we are getting lots of love for you from your colleagues.
Thank you very much.
We have some great comments that are coming, from Atif. Said that, great personality of our industry, proud of this lady. Yusuf Rifat said, great discussion, need more programs to educate people. Rifat, we will continue this. Sony, she made a comment there, and a couple of other comments around, how, much you have inspired to many people. Now, just now you mentioned, and obviously we know that you have worked in Dubai on an internship, but then you had a full-time job in Thailand, in Soneva Kiri. And one thing I always say to many local colleagues is that to get out to get out of our comfort zone and to get where we really need to go, it is important that we work in another environment where we can learn different aspects. And I'm sure your time in Dubai and your time in Soneva here in Thailand must have added quite a lot of value. Could you tell us sort of what did you learn while working in there and what contributed to your career while working abroad?
I think in even in the Maldives, in the resorts, you are very, you have a lot of nationalities working together. So it's a very international play field. Um, what was different when working in Thailand, I think that is more relevant because that was more, on a more senior role, is that we in the Maldives now, we are the Maldivians and we are the majority, and we are, sometimes you don't feel the difference a foreigner would have or would feel when working in this kind of an environment. So I think my time at Soneva Jani kind of showed me or taught me how to deal with different people and the different expectations, different culture, and how to manage those dynamics. And I think that is something that was my key takeaway. When you look at the challenges, when you see in a resort operation, I think it's very similar from one place to the other, and was also an island-based property. But when you add the people and the culture, that makes it more interesting. And I think that was my key takeaway from that experience.
Yeah, very good. And I think there's, so right, it's a different environment, but if you're keen to learn, if you're keen to understand, it definitely gives you a great opportunity. So I'd like to actually take now a question from one of the viewers. Inti mentioned that, Shaaz, what's the most memorable day in your career? Over the years, I suppose you have had many memorable days, but what would be a memorable day or a moment for you?
There have been many incidences, but I think right now where I am, the most memorable day for me was the day I got a job to work at Soneva Jani. Many reasons. I was actively looking for a job. I have had many interviews. Some of the companies declined because my only condition was that I wanted to bring my son with me. And even the day I got the opportunity, or I got the green light from Soneva Jani, I had another interview as well along that line. So for me to come up, and since this is my second role as a resort manager, and for me as the first female resort manager in the country, and also for me to be coming back to the industry after having my child and staying at home with him for about a year and having the opportunity to bring him. And I think it's not only for me, and I think for the whole industry, it is a turning point, or it is a defining moment. And I think that's something that we will have to keep in mind. So for me, that has been the most memorable day. Inti,
Yeah.
if you want, I can explain to you later on more. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Um, I mean, you're so right, because it all depends on what that particular job or that particular moment does to you, and then your time in Soneva Journey, definitely you already mentioned quite a few times that has been one of the most memorable time there. So I want to go to a different question here. And over the years, I see that you have taken a great deal of time and attention to your own growth. From where you are, to start at the very line level job, sit in the front office, and then going through all specific areas in Rose Division and reaching the resort manager level to manage a property of that caliber must have gone through huge investments in terms of personal growth. And so my question to you is that, how essential is one's professional growth and investment step in various positions? And if you could speak perhaps about a couple of, professional developments that you have gone through to reach where you are today, that would be great.
Yeah, like any industry, I think this industry is also growing, and things that you have studied when you were doing management development courses years ago. are still relevant, but the applications are becoming different, and people are becoming more open to different kind of knowledge. So I do think personally that you have to keep on learning, not only about the industry, but of course different other aspects of it as well. Um, I have taken up on any opportunity. I do, even till now, I do small online learning courses. I've done some formal education. When I did my MBA, I was studying. I was working in a similar capacity as room station manager, and most of the time. And anyone who has done an MBA while you are studying, or while you are working in a resort, will understand. And I have many colleagues who have taken up that challenge, and I salute you for going through that. It is not easy if you really wanted to do well and get good results, and make sure that you learn something out of it. Then it is hard work. And I went through that. And over the years, as I said, I've always wanted to learn. There was one thing for the last few years I have in mind. I've heard about the prestigious Cornell University, and I have in my mind that I will do their GMP, or the General Managers Program. And I was very lucky enough to take part that in this January, the last January, where I spent about 2 weeks in New York. That experience was mind-opening, and I think it's not only about the things you learn, but it is the connections, and it is the networking you come out of it. And I still keep in touch with all of the classmates. We share ideas, and especially during the last few weeks or several weeks, when we started getting the impact of COVID into this, especially into the hospitality industry, how bad it has affected, sharing those ideas and how everyone is doing, dealing with those situations. And that has given me great in-depth knowledge. And I'm grateful for that. And I think for everyone who is listening to this, or who is watching this, please take time for your personal development, because no one else is going to come and give it to you on a plate. You have to work for it. You learn, you find time, and take up small steps, and I'm sure the opportunities will come.
Wow, that was great. I like what you just mentioned at the very beginning. Take small steps and opportunities will come. And that was a very good advice right there for anyone who is watching this. Because if you don't invest in the time it is going to take you to get where you need to go, you probably not even, may even get an opportunity, right? A lot of us wait for something to come, but we have to start preparing. And also, I want to link with what you said with one of our other guests, who was Salah, the GM of Commando, said last time that he said that in every position it requires a different person of him. And I also want to highlight that you mentioned about not just a study. I mean, you've done the MBA program, you've done the general management programs, and you mentioned very specifically that it's not just study; it's about the networking, who you meet in these programs, and the collaboration and the connections. You have put that very well, and I hope that all of you we take note of this. And also I want to address and compliment our industry professionals. I know over the last 5 years, or probably beyond that, there are many industry colleagues, especially in the hospitality industry and other private public sectors, that they're taking a lot of time to do these executive MBAs, and it definitely helps them to get it to a different level, different connections. So keep up that good work, everybody. And that was a good point. I want to take a question from a participant now. We have a question from Ali Adam, and Ali Adam's question is: as a woman and a mother, what is your message to parents letting female child to work in, um, you know, predominantly, dominantly a male environment such as resorts? I think this is one of the questions we in fact had on our agenda today. So, in fact,
Yes.
if you could speak about it, because this is something we hear often. The parents
Mm.
saying, we're very concerned that we can't send our wonderful kids to resorts because mostly males are there. We don't think that is safe. I mean, you've proven to be a role model and a successful story like many others. So talk a little bit about this, and how safe are resorts for females. What's your message to parents, and how can we sort this out?
I think the resorts are one of the safest places to work for as a female because of the measures in place. There are still quite a lot of social stigma, and I'm sorry that I still hear a lot of people saying that, oh, I don't want to send my girl or my sisters to work in a resort because it's not safe. And I don't know where that comes from. And I think wherever you go, whatever job you do, it's you who takes the care and who takes responsibility of yourself, not anyone else. So if you know where you are and if you know your self-worth, and that's you can do anything. The way the resorts are designed or the structures in place, I think we live in a very close community, and many of the people I have worked with in the resorts, or my many colleagues, has become more like family members, more than friends. So I think everyone looks after, and definitely for me in my career, I think in every role I've had, my colleagues, my male colleagues and female colleagues both have looked after me and have always given me their back. And I do feel, I think, and I still insist that I think resorts are much safer than anywhere else to be working because you have people you can relate to. When you go to other offices or other places to work, normally you're kind of away from your normal crowd or your normal people. But when you're in a work, yes, whether you are at work or whether you are not at work, within the resort, you still have this community that you will be taken care of. And I think it's something that everyone should be open to. And I think to tackle this, one of the things and this is something that we wanted to do, is also make make sure that the parents and the students itself, or the other people who wanted to come into the industry, understand the opportunities you have within the resorts. And rather than only talking about the jobs or the things that you could do, we wanted to invite the parents, or we wanted to show them how our life is within the resort. So I think a lot of times you don't understand. And the way the resorts are, most of the locals have not even visited a resort. Maybe they might just come to an arrival jetty and see the beauty of it from there and then go on. But in actual fact, our lifestyle within the resort, I don't think many people are aware of it. So maybe that's why it is coming from. Maybe all the resort operators should invite as many people as you want. I don't know how you will do it, but I think take up on the opportunity and talk about it more, and try to pass that message and show it. And we are very much open for anyone who wanted to come and see how our facilities are and to talk about how our life is.
Yeah, no, that's true, and I think there's a sense around obviously not perhaps not many parents being able to visit resorts and
Mm.
understand exactly how the resort operates. So one of the things that to all the viewers that MAHRP is planning to do is that as we reopen resorts and as we reopen schools, we're going to do obviously a lot of student career guidance programs using industry partners, but also at the same time we want parents awareness session to show them how safe these resorts are, and the what we hear from the what we hear and what they believe at times based on, I suppose, unconfirmed facts is not true, because there are definitely very good stories of female wonderful leaders started from a line level and grown as resort managers and even beyond. So let's move into one other question here, and it's also related to the same question we just went through. And the other question, we get always is that there's no opportunities available for females in the industry, which, for me, to be honest, is hard to believe, because I know that, whatever the jobs that, a man can do in resource can also be done by a female. I mean, there are engineering I know in some resources there are in engineering section there are female team members too, or even other areas which we may not think. So could you talk a little bit about the opportunities that are available in the hospitality industry for female school leavers? What's your message around that?
I think if someone looks around, the sky is the limit. To be honest, there are many opportunities. I think those who wanted to come and join join to this industry, you have to look around. And first, we as resort operators, plus the people who wanted work in the resort, must believe, or that there are any job is possible. I mean, just because you are a girl, the only thing that you can do is not behind a desk and not behind a telephone, or not a guest relations job. There are other things that you can do. So I think, and I'm sure that a lot of people must have heard that several years back, we had a Maldivian female chief engineer who was working in one of the resorts, one of the international resorts in the Maldives. Fatun, I don't know whether you are listening to this. So you have always been an inspiration to me, and I think this is not the first time I've said it. So that means that there are role models that you could look up to. And just because a friend of yours is working as a waitress doesn't mean that you will be looking for that job. And just because you know people who are working as guest relations or front office, you want to go for that job. Make sure that you are open for all the opportunities. And this is a very interesting time that this conversation is coming up. As you know, Soneva Jani, we are expanding, and we have put or kind of have set some very high targets for us to employ or bring up our female representation within the resort. So we'll be looking for different areas, almost in every area. So if there's any interest, please do reach out, and we'll definitely would love to work together.
Yeah, very good, and it's a great message. And definitely, there are opportunities available. I think we also need both this guidance lying around where school leavers or even parents who probably wants to send their kids, wonderful children to resource to work, that they can reach out and perhaps get some guidance from leaders like you, Shaz. I would like to take a question now from one of the participants. Again, it's from Inti. Shaz, who is the most inspiring leader you have met in your career, and what's the best advice you got from him or her? That's the question we got from Inti. So if you like to, possibly tap on that question.
Thanks, Cynthia, again. Over the years, I've worked with many people, and when it comes not only with as a career, I think when it comes to everyday life as well, this advice is very important. One is from a general manager I have worked with, and that person said to me, this industry is all about emotions. But when you face a situation, sometimes take that emotion out from that situation and look at the situation, and then make a decision, and you will never be wrong. And I think this has stuck with me for quite some time. And I think it's very true, whether you're dealing with a guest, whether you're dealing with an issue with the host, whether you're dealing with something that you have never, there was no control of, or weather or anything else. I think that, you take that emotion out and look at the situation and then act upon it. And that, I think that is one of the best advice. And another thing is, this doesn't come from any GMs or any leaders I work with, but this comes from my dad. And I have always kept that in my mind. And this is when I wanted to work in a resort, or when I asked him about coming and joining the hotel school, especially after finishing the hotel school, when I was going for my first job. And then he said to me very simple words: make us proud, and don't do anything that you will be ashamed of later. And I think that's very simple. In a sense, it's very simple, and I didn't think of it until recently. But I think it's the most important advice anyone would get. And this is an advice from me as well to anyone who is working, not only in the industry but anywhere else. The people who take care of you, or the people who look after you, take their advice, and the values they impose on you, the values they teach you, actually those are the guiding principles, and those become the core values of your personal brand. So make sure that you don't jeopardize that. And that's something that I would want to give to everybody. And that's where my guiding principle is, and I will always keep on to that.
Yeah. Now, it was very good point that you basically said that, the best advice that you got was, really around, you know building and controlling your emotions, and building that as a key thing, and also then linking with various lessons you have learned and making that as your personal values. And if you are driven by values, it helps you to bring build a personal brand, and that personal brand will help you to survive through any situation, whether it is stepping up in your career, or whether it is guiding and coaching someone, and the list could go on, right? So that's quite wonderful what you mentioned there. I want to take on the next question here, and it kind of links with what we just spoken about, which is obviously one of the area that is quite perhaps lacking in our industry, not just hospitality, but generally across the world, is that you know the coaching and mentoring, where somebody
Mhm.
has to mentor someone, somebody has to coach someone. We all go through tough times in our life. We all can, even have the best job in the world. But, 365 days, we don't actually are always in a good mood. Things can happen because we are all human beings. When you go through a tough time or a moment, who is somebody that you actually pick up and call and ask for advice? And how important is mentoring and coaching for us to grow and develop beyond our potential?
Mhm. I think the most important thing is that you should be able to let go of what happens. I mean, I do have some contact with some of my senior managers that I have worked with, and sometimes I have shared some ideas with them. But I think every person in their personal life have someone who you lean back to, right? When the opportunity comes. For me, that has always been my family, and I'm very grateful for my husband, who is also a hotelier, and I think he understands a little more than many people. That helps, and of course, there are times when I have to make a difficult decision, not relating to the job, but when it affects my personal life, then there are my family, my sisters, my elder sister, and again, I can't thank her enough because for me to be in this role, as you all know, that I live with a small child, and for me to take that decision, yes, I wanted to bring him to be with me, but at the end of the day, I also have to have a backup. I should be able to comfortably lean back to someone if there is an opportunity, if there is any situation rises that I have to leave him behind at home. So that's a person that I would rely on to say. And I think close family has been more on a personal ground, mainly because when, any job you will come with the frustrations, but don't take it home. There are people above you, and if it is related to this job, for example, there are my superiors that I would approach, and those are my guiding lights in that instance. But in other parts, it will be the closest friends and family. Maybe we haven't talked for ages, but then suddenly you think of someone, hey, and that conversation starts up. So it eases up. And having some colleagues within the industry as very good friends, I think that is really helpful. Because then you know what's going on in each other's life. You understand more than outsider from the industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we mentioned at the very beginning, this is such an important area. I think it's always good that if we going through a tough time, we know who we can call, and we know we can rely on them, right? And also the understanding that when somebody gives coaching guidance, that we really take it on and do something about it. And like you mentioned at the very beginning, sometimes it may not apply to us, so let it go. If something goes wrong, we don't hold on to it, and let it go. I want to ask a question. Um, a little bit off this. I mean, we have about 16 days approximately before the country opens its border, and I know that Soneva Jani is one property that is going to open on that date. How is the preparation going on for you, and what's your role right now? I know you're the resort manager, so obviously you probably be doing everything and anything. But how is the time for you? And also, if you could talk a little bit about the lockdown period and 2 months, and how was that period for you?
Um, I think like many of my colleagues, I was also had to spend several weeks away from the resort. I went to Male to visit my dad, and that was just the day before the lockdown, so kind of had to get stuck there until almost last week. And I was in constant touch with the team on the ground, and I have to say the senior team, not only the senior team, we had a skeleton team on the island who has taken up the challenge of making sure that everything runs smoothly. There have been a lot of works going on in terms of getting some needed maintenance works going on. We've also taken everyone to make sure that they clear their leave days so that everyone comes fresh before the opening. Now is the time that we have got a clear date of opening the borders. So it's time for now to make sure that whatever has been put away, packed and put away, that kind of dust it off and make sure that everything is nice and clean and set up for the guest arrival. But most importantly, that the other thing that we are working on now is um, life is never going to be the same. The way we were doing things is never going to be the same. And there are new procedures coming in place. There are new things coming in, the new norms, so that we have to be accustomed to those. And I think a lot of training is needed. So that's where we are now, making sure the teams are prepared, making sure that, our procedures are in line with what's been requested or what is been um, uh, get given from the government, and making sure that our guests and our hosts are safe when they come back and start living with this pandemic, I think.
Yeah, very good. And I think linking that with, I'd like to actually ask you a question. There are definitely a lot of HR professionals, specifically in those specific roles, hoteliers, and other stakeholders and all aspects watching. Um, Often it's difficult sometimes. You let the team members go for 2-3 months. They're going to come back, and it's going to take probably for some it's been 4 months, some it's been 5 months. They're going to come back. I think everybody's been away for at least more than 3 months. When they
Yeah.
come back, to continue that connection you had in the engagement. What do you think that resource can do to build and bring that engagement back? I know in your property and in your world of work, you must have learned techniques and you must be getting ready. So is there any tip you'd like to share with everybody who's watching this show?
I think inclusion is the most important thing. This is kind of another pre-opening. I think the better teams I have worked with, everyone who has worked in a pre-opening becomes really close. That's because they cross over the jobs and they make sure that they help each other, not only doing what they are assigned to do. And I think that is what is going to be deciding in these few weeks as well, for everyone. And making sure that you do or take part in other areas gives you the understanding, and also opens up and understands the challenges they have. So you kind of get a better understanding of everyone's job. And I think that's where the help that will be the biggest thing. But once we have getting people on board, when you talk about engagement, it's not only about organizing activities. It's making sure that they are aware, they are informed, they are kept informed, and they're making sure that they are included in any decisions, or at least taking their views on those decisions. So that a lot of information sharing and communication, I think, is the most important thing in this as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think there's the key part and the key word there is emotions, and because they've been away for so long, there's no doubt that every single employee who works in every resort, they love the property, they love the people they work with, but they were away, at home, obviously with a lot of uncertainty. So when they come back, the part to manage their emotions, the compassion and the care and the love that we need to give certainly will have to be very different. And you mentioned earlier that our life will never be the same again because we never experienced this. And I think there probably no hotelier in the Maldives that ever close a property to a health pandemic at this scale, and then you reopen, right? This
Yeah.
is totally different, and I think no pandemic has put us down and hold, economically, at least in the last 100 years, as far as we see. As we're coming to the end of our conversation today, I just want to encourage participants, if you have any questions, you can post it. We'll be asking us right away. But there's one question which I think you already responded, but definitely I would like to take on this question. One of the participants says that Shamin, as I could pronounce the name, it says, Maldives tourism industry is male-dominant industry. I think we spoke about it. In your opinion, what needs to happen to balance up? Is there anything additional you want to add on based on what you said earlier?
Yeah, I think we need a paradigm shift, to be honest. People to think differently, because and I did touch base with you before, and we have to not only not only the girls, but people who are in the resorts or the resort operators, and the community itself have to come out of their shell and think that this is something that girls can do, and support in that. I do think that there's quite a lot of people who a lot of girls who start work in this industry every year. But I think there is a very interesting, this will be a very interesting exercise if we do this. We need to find out, why do they leave? Why do they spend to stay for 2 years and then decide to go and do something else? Is it because the family is pressuring, or is it because that they have a child and they wanted to spend more time with the family, or is it something else, or is it just that they wanted to come here to earn some money and then go back and do something else? And I think that's something we need to really look into and see why the people leave, or why the girls are not willing to stay. Is it their choice, or is that choice being influenced by someone else, or the society itself? So I think that's something that we have to think of. I wish I had an answer for that, but I don't think I do have any answer. But what I would say is that there are more and more people who are encouraging. When I first started working in a resort, I think there was only a few people or few girls working in the resorts. And in my case, me and another girl, we were the first Maldivian girls to go on a full-time job there when the resort was already in operation for 15 years. And the way I see it is also that we need to make sure that we incorporate them in the team. I'm not in believing that just because you are a girl, you have to get the job. And just because you are a girl, that you will be given special treatment in the resort, that you will be, even till now, there are some resorts that, because you are a girl, you are entitled to go and eat in the resort restaurant all 3 meals. I think that's not fair. I think that's not what we are looking for. We need to make sure that we feel safe within the facilities we have for all the staff. I don't feel like, I don't want to be differentiated just because I'm a girl. I want to have equal opportunity for me as any other staff is working. And so that's, and I think opening up and thinking about these questions and asking more of these questions, and for all the resort operators to give the opportunity to make sure that there are female participation. We have imposed a rule for ourselves. Maybe if someone wants to take up on this, please do, and I'm happy to share this. For any position, when you are shortlisting staff or shortlisting CVs, make sure there is at least one CV of a girl. It is difficult, even for us. We've been practicing this for almost more than a year, but it is difficult, and for certain roles, to have a female applicant. So I think we'll have to do some drastic actions like that. And I said, just go for a paradigm shift.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the key word there is the paradigm shift, and that requires a lot of work from all stakeholders. Making sure that, we make parents aware, making sure that even if you're an applicant, that you apply. Sometimes what happens is you perhaps see a position and you already start thinking, well, that position is not for me, and I may not get through the interview. So we already build up that thoughts, and then the thought state is not to take the action even to send the CV. Yeah. So we should take the
opportunity. That's it. Yeah, take up that opportunity, whatever it's. And as I said before, just because your friend is working in the front office, you don't have to go for that. Go for something else. Make sure that you prove that you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really is the key point there. You know, we're,
And one thing, Afif,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to add in one point.
Go ahead.
I know that, I mean, there have been quite a lot of female participation there. At least I know quite a lot of people, girls who are working in the industry. For myself, when I was coming back to work after having a child, that has, as I said before, it was a special moment and it's a turning point for me. And I think that's a turning point for the whole industry. So I think now is time for us, the operators, to actually think about this. And if there are any female hosts who wanted to come to work after having a child, and if you wanted to bring that child to work with you and to live in the resort, I think that should be a yes. Because I've had many interviews, and for me, this has been a deciding factor. I felt in many interviews that was a deciding factor. Whenever the conversation of the child comes, they were like, we are not ready for it. We don't have the facilities, we don't have a doctor. There are no clinics. What if he feels sick? That's not your problem. That's my problem, because that's where I'm getting in. You hired me to do your job. My child is my responsibility. And I think that's how everything should be. And I think we have to be a little bit more open for those conversations now, to make sure that those who are in this kind of level continue doing what they're doing and continue to do what they are, but they love to do. And I think that's where we have to step in.
Yes, great point there. We got an interesting question just now before I actually ask that question. I just want to, recap a little bit of a couple of things that you have mentioned. As you know, we're coming almost to the end of our conversation today. You specifically mentioned that, over the years, one thing that you would credit to your success is the hard work and the determination. You spend a lot of time on, fine tuning yourself, because you knew that if you need to step up, you need to get yourself organized in terms of your career growth and development. So you have worked abroad, you have done MBA, you have done general management programs, you have built a professional network that could always help you. But also you took everything that came as a challenge, right? And you're living with your wonderful kid in the resort, and you're very lucky. Obviously your husband is also a hotelier, and I know he's a good friend of mine. He holds a good position in one of the great resort in the Maldives. So obviously all these things does contribute, but you also have a lot of struggles, to where you are today. But all of them, you pass all of that through just because you knew what you wanted and you are working towards it every single day. So I want to take this question here from Liu Shan. Most say that females are not equally given the opportunity to uphold leadership roles. For the ones they are on position, they are challenged with the oppression of males. What are those challenges? How the management can remove those? If you could address that.
That's a very good question. I wish I have a straight answer for you, Lucian, because not many incidences I have helped in my career I have felt that. But yes, there are certain situations that I felt intimidated. Maybe not because I was a girl. I think that was more because I was junior than quite a lot of people working in that role. But it could be something, it could be because the person or the female candidate for that role is less experience in terms of years than a male colleagues, because there's sometimes you have people who are holding a position for years and years, and if someone new comes in and change, to take on that challenge or the change, it becomes quite difficult. Maybe that's something, but I honestly don't know what exactly is what the challenge with that operation. But I do think it could be some kind of an intimidation, and that's exactly what I felt in a couple of situations. But in my case, I was strong enough to confront it, and I was strong enough to say that if you don't believe what I'm saying, if you don't want to carry on, this is not for me. This is a company policy, or this is what the company is expected of me to do. So if I'm in this position, not because you are a male or you're a female, you're just any employee, like, you have to make sure that you adhere to that. So there's no there's no question about it. Once you have those conversations, and I think you have to be firm and you have to make sure that you're open about it. Sometimes you have to pick a fight, but at the end of the day you come out with a smile and a fist bump, I think that solves everything, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are, and then this is something I do hear quite often as well. Many people say that the male colleagues do not respect them in the way that they would, or there's some kind of oppression. But I think it depends on situations to situations. What I would say to any management is to make sure that you understand the dynamics between the teams and between the employees you have. Whether it's female or male, there could be some friction between two male hosts, or there could be friction between two female hosts. So if you understand those dynamics and make sure that that kind of gets, um, the attention, the required attention is given in those circumstances in a timely manner, and I think that's what will help.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're so right. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think any resort or any company, regardless of the industry, that they will have, intentional, ways to, oppress any gender. And I don't think that is a value that any company will tolerate. But obviously, at times, unintentionally, things does happen. And one advice that I, just in agreement with what you said, that I could share is that if ever you feel that way, whether you're a male or female, that you always find somebody to talk about it and understand, because there's always two sides of it. And I always say, regardless of how thin the slice of bread is, there's always two sides of it. So it's always good to talk to somebody else, so then you can understand both sides a little bit better, get some guidance and speak. As we come to the
Open communication is very important.
go ahead, Shaz. Yes.
Yeah. I said open communication is very important, to make sure that there are, when there are conflicts like that, make sure that it is brought up, make sure it's talked about, and then I think that could be that could be an opportunity to solve.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously, my last question with you, I will also actually link with two questions from two participants, Vincent Burby and Mohammad Rishfan. In our community, we know that across the Maldives, started from the greater capital part of the country to different parts of the Maldives, there's this wonderful kids, and when they finish schools, they stay at home, because for some reason in our community and the culture, obviously the parents does look after them, so it's all right not to have a job, and they stay at home for a longer time. And a lot of them, they may try to get a job, but probably most, especially in many parts of the Maldives, they love staying at home, and until they get a job that they like to have. So what's your message basically to school leavers? Is it good to stay at home until you get what you want, or you have to start somewhere so that you can get to where you need to go? What's your take on that?
I would say take up on any opportunity, and explore. Um, Maybe what you have in mind 2 years back, or when you were doing your first field trip to a place to understand your career paths, what you have decided on that day could be completely different. In my case, for sure, it was ranging from a preschool teacher to a nurse to a doctor to police force, and I ended up working in the hospitality, and that came just very very late in my studies. So I think I would say take up on the opportunity, explore what is there, and then you might find your passions somewhere completely different from what you thought of originally. And I would
Yeah.
say the same to the parents also, to encourage them to take up on those opportunities and look for their passion.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have to start somewhere to get where we want to go. Because, for example, if you want to do a 5 kilometer run, you can't just do 5 kilometers. You have to do first, 100 meter, and then it goes. The same thing with the career. You have to start somewhere to get going. And I think that also very much links with what anyone who wants to join the hospitality industry. And all the participants that who are watching, as we've come almost to the end of our session today, go to the comment box. The question to you is, what did you take from this conversation today with Shaaz, where she shared some important lessons and stories of her journey, which actually connects with a greater part of our community? And what's your key takeaways? And share some love and care there for Shaaz and our program viewers in the comment box. Shaaz, what's your closing remark?
Um, I look forward to be meeting more girls that definitely in this industry. But I think not only for the girls, I think this is a great career for anyone. And they, I think the resorts should take more initiatives to make sure that not only local women, but the whole local community is more involved in this industry. And I think we have to take charge in that. And that's what I would say. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much, Afi, for this
Yeah,
opportunity. I
thank
really
you.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you, Shaz. Our viewers enjoyed, and we were very delighted to have you as our first female, industry leaders. Of course, in our series of programs, there will be many who is coming. And to all the viewers who are watching today, I hope that you have enjoyed our conversation. You have learned some important messages from Shaz here, and we will make the recording available on our YouTube channels and other channels so that you can watch and view. And I also want to share a very important message to all our viewers today. Our next guest for this program is quite a special guest. Many of you probably know that the current Vice President of Maldives, Honorable Faisal Nasim, was a hotelier before. He worked in resorts before. And recently I was speaking to Honorable Vice President that, we are keen to increase the number of locals in the Maldives in different sectors, in different areas. And there's a specific task force that is working around at policy level, and we have been obviously guiding them, and things will change, things will get better over the years. It may not change one day. So Faisal said he would actually love to be a guest, and share some conversations and really make everybody understand the government policy around it, and also at 3 o'clock more this time, we will actually be bringing our Vice President Faisal Nasim live on this program so that all of you can understand what our Vice President have to say about the hotel industry in the future, and also what it looks like for him to work and perhaps to lead at a totally different level in the nation right now. All the viewers, thank you very much, and we appreciate your time with us today. And Shaz, once again, thank you for sharing your story. I look forward to
Thank you
catching
very
up with
much.
you once again, and have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you very much.